Welcome to Utaghs, your not-so-serious source in the Utah photography industry. Today, we are going to be talking everything second shooters.
I'm excited.
Me too. So we can get into basically everything from start to finish, what you need a second shooter for, how much you should pay them, and also what you should expect from your second shooter to do and not to do.
Also, what do you do with the photos afterwards?
Exactly. We need to talk about that because I feel like that etiquette in the industry is just not talked about like at all.
I feel like second shooters in general, until you need one, you have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
So if you don't know, we met because Shannon second shot a wedding with me. And that's really where our friendship kind of blossomed. And this wasn't that long ago.
It was so fun too. It was, I don't even remember, like September.
I think so. I think September is when it was.
Yeah. So we've known each other a long time through Instagram, but I mean, we've met before, but it had been what, like 2 years prior to that?
It had been a while, and I had always been a huge fan of Shannon's work, and I had this gorgeous wedding in a fun location. It was at the Madison in Ogden, if you've ever been.
It was beautiful.
Oh, so pretty. And this couple is the sweetest couple, and I knew I needed a second shooter that was going to be up to snuff. In enters Shannon.
I am here.
And we had so much fun, and the most important part for me was when she turned over the SD cards. Our styles really melded together in the way we shoot, and so it was almost hard to tell who took what, and that's like the ideal situation for a second shooter.
Such a compliment too.
So, Shannon, do you want to tell us what a second shooter is, just in case people don't know?
Sure. As a lead photographer, you are going to want a second shooter, especially if you're shooting a wedding that's on the bigger side. I'd say even smaller weddings, it's good to have a second just as a backup. But my rule is if they have like over 100 guests, I for sure want a second shooter the entire day. And that's going to be another photographer that you hire on. Typically, it's you send the second shooter to do the smaller tasks like capture cocktail hour while you're taking the family photos, or they're going to hang out with the groom getting ready while you're shooting the bride getting ready, just because it's more like in depth kind of.
I agree with that. And I use second shooters as an insurance policy, basically, because for ceremonies, you get those two separate angles. So while I'm trained on the bride, you're trained on the groom's reaction. And if for whatever reason, if something were to happen to my gear and it malfunctioned mid like ceremony, you're getting that coverage no matter what.
Right. And if it's a smaller wedding, I always ask my second just to get the guest reactions as well when the bride is walking down the aisle. So like I'll shoot the groom reaction and the bride walking up. And then I would want my second to be shooting like the parents or the grandparents, you know, seeing the bride for the first time.
I think a second shooter's job is to get as creative and like off the walls as possible. Because you're getting those shots that you were hired to get. Second shooters are here to get the extra.
Exactly. And maybe when you're doing things that are more like on the timeline, the second can be off getting the creative, like flat lay shots and detail shots, venue shots, things like that.
Whatever you want your second shooter to do is basically up to you as the lead. But if you are left with no instruction, just be wherever the lead isn't.
Yes, please do not follow me around. I hired you to get the shots that I cannot get.
I don't need 2 shots of family photos. Please no. So one of the things we're going to talk about today is how to choose a second shooter. What do you look for, Shannon, when you're hiring someone?
So I try to be a little bit picky when I'm hiring now, just because like I have so many weird venues too that people have like never really shot at. Well, my seconds anyway. Like I shoot at the Capitol a lot and I don't see too many weddings there. And just so I really try to look for people who, like you said, try to get creative with the space and the lighting and just who are confident in themselves skill level wise and camera setting wise.
I agree with that. I think when I hired you, I knew that you were really good in low light situations. And so I saw that your use of light was really interesting, that you weren't afraid of the shadows, which is very on par with my style. And I didn't even know what your camera system was. So
She didn't know I shot an Nikon.
The audacity. No, so I'm a Canon girl. And the fact that I already talked about this, but when we turned our SD cards over and that your style was so similar to mine, I think that was imperative. Like the camera you shot on really didn't matter. It was the fact that we had a similar style.
I also try to ask beforehand, like try to keep the tones consistent with mine, like like shooting on a similar Kelvin level.
Okay.
Not just, sometimes I get like you have to use auto white balance if you're not totally familiar, but I think that also helps with like culling process and editing if you keep the tones as similar as possible.
Oh, I think that's a really good point. I never really thought to ask. I'm like, I'll just edit it.
Yeah.
So that would make my life easier.
Next time we shoot together.
You're smarter than I am, Shannon. This happens all the time.
How do you feel about like undershooting and overshooting? What do you expect your second to hand over on their SD card?
I want my second to take an obscene amount of photos.
Oh, really?
Like, I want them to really try all the weird and wacky things and also get like backups of things. So if I am shooting with you for 4 hours and you hand me over 150 photos, I'm gonna be so disappointed.
Yeah, that's pretty low.
Like, I think for a good rule of thumb, I use probably 10% of whatever my second hands over to me.
Same.
So I'm not using all of their photos. Their photos are not there to fill a gallery. They're there to offer a different perspective.
Yeah. And like you said, it's just a backup, like just in case. You never know, and it's better to be safe than sorry.
Exactly. And I don't, like, if I don't have a lot of different options, I'm going to be like, why did I even hire you?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because I want them to be moving a lot. I want them to like experiment, take a chance. And that's when you get the fun, creative, artistic approach. If I'm just getting standard shooting from eye level, I'm going to be like, okay, so you really didn't think outside the box.
Yeah.
You were just there as a second body. It's nice, but to really hold value, I need you to experiment and offer the things that if I had the time to do it, I would shoot.
Right. And as somebody who also shoots film on wedding days, I also want you to get like these standard shots as well, just while I'm shooting film, just as like a backup, like you said. But I do love when a second, like if I'm going through their SD card and it's like, I personally love the blurry shots, like motion blur. I know you're probably not the biggest fan of them, but if I'm getting a shot, it's like super crispy. And if you're getting one that's like of them moving around with some motion blur, I will include both of them.
Okay. I think that could be an opportunity where I would maybe allow it. Maybe.
Or fire me.
No. I love you. I'd just be like, oh no, she dropped her camera.
Tilted horizons and blurry.
Oh my gosh, my worst fears.
See, we do have similar shooting styles, but I feel like we are a little bit different in that realm, which is fun.
I live and die by the crispy. I want everything to be so sharp and clear. And I just like makes my eye twitch a bit when it gets blurry or tilted.
Another big thing too is like when you're hiring a second, they are going to be part of your brand for the day, and you need to make sure that they know how to communicate with other vendors.
Oh my goodness, yes. I mean, you're not going to be talking to the bride and groom. That's not your job. Typically, when you're a second, that's why they hired me. I have the rapport established. I'm going to be dealing with them, but you are going to be talking to the other vendors on site because hopefully you're getting detail shots of their work. Right. You're going to be talking to the florist. You're going to be talking to the bartender. You're going to be talking to the caterers. Like, that's your job. So you need to be able to hold your own, be confident, control a room, and you need to be adaptable as well if something changes. Mm-hmm. So, and if you're like Shannon, you be a second shooter for me once and now you're stuck with me for life.
So along with being able to talk to the vendors, your second also needs to be able to talk to the guests. Actually, let me back up. I have one more point. Okay. And then also when they are talking to the vendors, they need to realize like this is not their job. They don't need to be promoting themselves to the vendors or the venues.
No. This is not a time for self-promotion. If you are passing out business cards or talking about your own business at my gig, you will never get hired again.
No, exactly. And it's like, I get that you are also a photographer and you really want your business to grow, but this is not the time and not the place to do that.
You are a contracted employee for me if you are hired by me. So you have to put your own business aside and represent my company.
Right. And along with being able to talk to the vendors, you have to be able to talk to the guests in like a personal manner. Like you have to be able to read social cues, read the room, and I don't know, just you have to be personable person.
Yes, I also like to be a personable person. No, I think I get what you're saying, though. If you're going to come attend a whole day with me or I with you, I need to conduct business in a similar manner you would. Keep it friendly so that at the end of the day, there is a good review or a good rapport established with these clients so that they have a great experience. It's not just, oh, get in, get out. I'm a fly on the wall.
Right. Yeah. Like you said, you are a hired on employee for the lead shooter at that point. And another thing with that, I highly dislike when second shooters are making the couple redo a pose that was already captured just so they could have it for their portfolio. That makes me so mad.
No, this is kind of on point with like the second shooter should not be posing anybody ever.
Right.
They're not giving direction.
The only time is if I send you off with the groom for getting ready. Obviously, you can pose the groom and the groomsmen if there are any. But other than that, I don't need you to pose anyone.
Shannon did have to go above and beyond for the last wedding we shot together. Do you want to tell him what?
So the groom, this poor groom, he did not try his suit jacket on prior to the wedding. And so I'm like, okay, let's get your suit jacket on. Like your groomsmen can help you get ready. And during that, we realized that the ink tag is still fully attached to the suit jacket.
Yay.
So it was a mess. We ended up I think they put like electrical tape over it to kind of mask it with the color of the suit.
Honestly, I never had to edit it out. Never saw it. It blended right in.
Like the bride and groom switched sides at the altar. Like usually the bride is on the left and the tag was on the left side of the suit. So they ended up just having the groom stand on the left side at the altar.
I love it. So smart. But this is what I'm saying. Like Shannon had to go into crisis management as my second shooter while I'm actively with the bride getting her ready. And Shannon's just texting me like, we have a problem. Don't worry. I got it.
I might need to run to the store to see if they can remove this tag and I'll be right back. But we figured it out.
We didn't even tell the bride. Like we were just having this side conversation of like, you know what? It'll get sorted. I trust you implicitly. And we found a solution and it was all hunky dory. But it's so funny that, you know, that's the responsibility you had to take on as a second photographer was dealing with that.
And it's so funny because like that's typical, like the groom not trying on the suit prior to the wedding day.
Men, we love them. But yes, it's typically the groom who is going to have, if there's going to be a pickle before the ceremony, it's usually the groom.
Right. Unfortunately, we still love you guys though.
Immensely. You're the best. We get the best moments with you guys, but still. Try on the suit jackets, try on the pants, try on the tie, try on the shoes.
Everything.
You need to try it all on.
Put it all on.
Fashion show at work. Put it all on and strut through just to make sure it all works. Another thing that we talked about is like, we've talked about your role. We've talked about what we look for when we hire. Another thing that's important is what is in your contract when you are hiring a second shooter? What stipulations do you have in place to protect your experience, your work, and let them use it?
So my contract, it's pretty basic. Like, don't post any photos before I deliver the gallery. Don't tag the bride and groom, just things like that.
Okay. Do you have a time frame in place or do you let them use it for advertising and marketing? Are they allowed to post on socials or their website? What do you have?
So I do allow them to post on like socials, their website, as long as I deliver the gallery first. It's not like a timed thing. And if I don't plan on posting the photos anytime soon, I'll just let them post first. I don't really mind. But I don't want them to submit anything for like magazines or anything like that.
Which is totally fair. And I have a stipulation in mind now that you have to say lead photographer Ellie Montemayor.
Yeah.
Second
I
shot
think that's
by
fair.
You. Well, it's giving credit because like you didn't get booked by the couple. You're not their photographer. You were hired by the photographer. So give credit where credit's due.
How do you feel about the lead basically doing the same thing for the second?
That's where it needs to be discussed. I think this is really important and not talked about ever.
I've never heard anyone talk about this either.
So I finally saw, I think it was in like the vendor table Facebook group, they were talking about there was a lead photographer who was using her second photographer's photos online and on her website to advertise with, which is totally unethical in my point of view. A second shooter's photos are not there for my personal like use. I do edit them, so partially I'm working on them, but it's not my intellectual property because I didn't take it. So I would never, ever submit them for publishing on my website, in my social media posts. Like, that's not their place. Their place is to pad a gallery for a client. So the only one who's ever going to use those photos is the client.
Yeah. And I think obviously if a potential client asks to see a full gallery, you're going to be showing that privately. But I don't post any of my seconds work on my website or anything like that.
It's not my place. It's just, I don't know, it would feel icky.
I do think like on social media, if you wanted to portray the full gallery and like your second was capturing the grooms getting ready and you wanted to showcase that, I would post a second in that situation. But other than that, I don't know.
In that case, I think it makes sense when you're showing it kind of like as a collage or like just telling the story of the full wedding day on your feed. But you would never make it your hero image, like your first image. That just wouldn't, that's not fair to the second shooter.
And so, if I was second, I would feel really weird if like the main photographer took my images and posted them on their website as like a hero image like that. I think it would make me feel really weird.
I agree. I don't know, tread carefully. Think about how you would feel if somebody else was using your images. Just try to be as authentic and genuine when you're using your images or wedding images. It's not about you as the photographer. It's about like your clients perceiving the work. And if you're just showcasing your second shooter's work all the time, that's not your work.
Right. And that's kind of misleading to them as well, because if you're not sure how to get that photo and somebody potentially wants one that's taken just like that or, you know, framed in a certain way, you might not know how to achieve it.
And that's why you just find a second shooter you love and you keep hiring them again.
Exactly.
So you always get that photo, no matter what.
Do you expect the second, obviously I have 2 camera bodies, but for a second shooter, would you expect them to have 2 or would you be okay with them just having 1?
I've had it both ways. It depends on their lenses and what they're using.
Okay.
Because if they just have primes, I would prefer to have 2 camera bodies for 2 different focal lengths.
That makes sense.
If they have a zoom lens, I'm just like, you're good, go forth, conquer.
Right. I love my 50. So that's why I have 2 bodies. I'm like, I love my 50 millimeter f1.4, but I also have like a 24-70 on me at all times too.
Yep, nice. And see, I'm a zoom lens girly. I love my 15-35 and my 70-200. So having a second photographer that kind of fills in that space that I don't use my lenses at like a 50 would be great.
Another thing too, when we're speaking of seconds, do you have like a hard stop time for them always, or you're like, okay, arrive at this time and then I'll pay you until you leave?
So I do things a little bit differently, and I realize this, but I hire my seconds to come for the prep, the ceremony, the aftermath if there's like family photos, and then they have a secondary setting going on, and then they leave. So my second shooters are only there for 4 hours because I don't think I need second coverage for a dinner and speeches and reception photos. If it was like a big all-out party, I would maybe have a second stay the whole day.
Yeah.
And if it's a huge guest list, if we're talking like 300 people, I'm like, please stay.
Yeah. Or like a cultural wedding that's like huge multi-day coverage. Obviously, I'm going to need some help for the reception.
Yes, agreed. But typically after family photos, I'm like, you can leave. I got this. And
I think that's fair.
If we are in a struggling position, like things are not getting covered, details have not been captured, I'm totally okay for them to stay and then just pay them extra at the end of the night.
Okay, yeah.
So
maybe I should start doing that.
We have a heart-to-heart when they're getting ready to leave. I've usually had my second shooters ask me, "Hey, how are you feeling? Do you need me to stay for a couple hours, or am I free to leave?" I've never had a scenario where I'm like, "Hey, I need you. I'm struggling." Usually, I run around like the Tasmanian devil at weddings, and I am nonstop going. So I usually get the coverage that I need. But if for some reason the timeline is dragging, I would have them stay.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of my weddings last year did that.
Did they?
Yeah. And they always ran behind schedule. Well, I guess I've only shot a couple of weddings that had planners as well. So I'm sure that has something to do with it.
Planners, we need to talk. I freaking love you so much.
Yeah, if you're a planner, you should come on because we have a lot of questions.
Oh, no, you guys make my life so much easier. The worst is when you go to a wedding and like you've talked through the timeline and you're all set and ready to go. And then you're like ready to transition to the next space and the guests have nowhere to go
Right.
because they have not prioritized somebody to coordinate the day. And so nobody knows where to go for anything and nobody's speaking up. So I all of a sudden have to become planner, coordinator, and photographer, which
Always.
just eats into your photos.
And like if you're having your ceremony and reception at the same venue and you need to flip the space, you need to dedicate people to do that or it's not going to happen.
Or you need to have a transition space to put people, or else the guests are just going to stand there talking. And you're going to have to fight through them to set up your space. So we got off topic. But yeah, wedding planners, important. Day of coordinators, important. Don't make your photographers do it, please. Okay, back to second shooting.
So
stepping off my soapbox. I could go off for days about that. But, okay, second shooters. How many trusted people do you have on your list?
You know, I do have quite a few. I would say less than 10 for sure. Probably between like 5 and 10.
Okay, so far I have like 3. But I'm slowly learning to let loosen the reins.
Yeah. Well, obviously you know lighting situations very, very well. And a lot of other photographers are natural light photographers, especially in Utah, and because everybody shoots outside here. So I could see why, especially you being such a like editorial style photographer. Did I say that right? Editorial style photographer.
Say it again,
you want
Shannon.
somebody who kind of matches your vibe as well.
And I honestly think you nailed it right on, is that I am such a stickler for lighting. And I think that's why I also don't have photographers stay for receptions a lot of the time, is because I do solely off-camera flash. And it would make little to no sense for me to have an on-camera flash photographer for the reception.
Right.
And so unless they know what to do, I'm just like, please leave. I got this. Let me light it. And so I think, yeah, you're right. I'm the problem. I'm always the problem.
No, it's not even a problem though. It's literally just you need to find people who match your style so the gallery's cohesive.
I'm just so dang picky, Shannon.
That's not a bad thing.
This is why I'm training you in off-camera flash. We're going to get you there.
I did buy a flash trigger and I actually really love it. So now I just need to like buy the stands and all the other little gadgets and stuff just to keep on going with it.
The stands are the cheap part. We're going to go to Picture Line and we're just going to have a day of like buying stuff and it's going to be great.
We'll start a whole nother project if we end up going there again together.
That's all we need is one more project. No, but like they have everything. We'll get your gear all set up. It's actually not, if you own the flash and trigger, everything else is just really affordable on top of that. So,
you know,
we'll get you set up. It'll be great. Okay. Okay, we're going to get a little uncouth. I don't know what the right word is for this, but we're going to talk about the taboo topic that is payment. I think when you are hiring a second photographer, a lot of the times, if it's your first time hiring, you don't know what to pay them.
Right.
But I
and
think
you might not know what to charge as a second shooter.
Exactly. I know that. I was like, I have no idea, because the glorious part about being a second shooter is you turn over SD cards at the end of the night and you never have to edit those photos unless you need them for your portfolio. So you come, you shoot, you leave. That's it. You're done.
That's it.
So you're not going to have an hourly rate like you would for like a normal wedding or for even like a portrait session. You wouldn't have that rate. It would be something significantly less because you don't have the editing time taxed onto there.
And a lot of the times too, like in my packages, well, some of them anyway, I include a second shooter in the pricing. So I kind of build that in based on my trusted second shooters that I have. And talking about pay, obviously, if I know you, I know your skill level and everything, I'm going to pay you more because I need you there. But if it's like a newer photographer that just really wants to second shoot or shadow, and it's like an elopement or something where I don't necessarily need a second shooter, obviously I'm not going to pay them as much.
If you're a shadow, you're not getting paid at all. Because a shadow is you literally are behind me the whole time. You don't talk to a soul. You don't direct anything. You are there solely for yourself, and you're not giving me an SD card at the end of the night. This is just for you. That's the trade of it all. That's why you're a shadow. You're not getting paid. If you are a second, you are there to shoot for me, and I'm going to pay you. But if I don't, I would hate to take a risk on a photographer I don't know for a wedding.
Yeah, I know for like shooting out of state, obviously sometimes I'm not able to pay my normal second shooters travel. So I'm going to have to take a risk at that point, but it's hard. You never know.
Yeah. So my typical range that I'm willing to pay a second shooter, depending on their qualification, is I try to stay within $50 to $80 an hour.
Same. Yeah. And honestly, I have a few friends that we trade time. We're both kind of on the same skill level and we're both booking pretty consistently. So it's like, okay, well, if I have an 8-hour wedding and you have an 8-hour wedding and we're both free those days, we'll just trade the time.
That's nice. I never even thought about doing that. When it comes to like tips, okay, here's the thing with tips. As a photographer, it is never expected, always appreciated. I never expect my clients to hand over a tip at the end of the night. However, with like these bigger weddings, it does happen, especially if you have a wedding planner. Almost always, every wedding I've worked with a planner, there's a tip at the end of the night, and they pass it out right before you leave.
Yeah.
And I always split my tip with my second shooter.
Same. I think it's fair. They're doing the work as well.
Agreed. And also, like, they may not have been there as long, but you know what? You still were part of my team. I want to show you how much I appreciate you. So here, split the tip with me.
Yeah. And if they're going to be one of the people that you're like, I really, really want to rehire you, and you split that tip with them, they're going to be like, okay, yeah, like, tell me the next time you need a second and I'm down.
Yeah. I think that it builds a really good community for you with your second shooters, and they trust you. And then you build that relationship, and then you start sharing a brain cell together, and it's fantastic.
But like you said, we're never expecting of a tip. It is nice. And I have gotten a few like gift cards in the past even, or handwritten cards, anything. I just think that's really cute, and it's just so thoughtful.
I have kept every card I've ever gotten from a client.
Me too.
It just makes my heart so happy. So second shooters, I think it's a great way if you were trying to get into weddings as well. If you don't feel comfortable solo shooting, but you're really moving up in your skill set, it really helps to second shoot for a lead photographer. Another point we need to make is that second shooting is a great option when you're looking to get into weddings, but you're not necessarily comfortable tackling a whole wedding day by yourself yet.
Right. And like you mentioned, like shadowing, I think that's a really good option as well.
I'd say shadowing is for newer photographers. Second shooting is when you've been doing it a few years, but maybe you're shifting mediums, or maybe you are just trying to stretch your creativity on a wedding day. That's a great option.
Yeah. Or trying to get into like a new venue or something like that. If you're a fan of a venue somewhere and you know a friend who's a photographer that got booked, just to get your foot in the door a little bit.
Genius. Okay, that's a really good point. And I know that's why a lot of people sign up for workshops, is because they want to get into a venue. Imagine you get into a venue and you get paid to shoot.
Right.
You're not paying to shoot a fake scenario. You're getting paid to shoot a real wedding. We love that.
And that goes for out of state as well. Like if you're a Utah photographer and you want to go into like California or Arizona or even the East Coast, I would reach out to other photographers on Instagram even and just offer to second shoot for them.
So smart. No, I remember when I went and visited my 2 photographer friends in the UK. Hey, James. Hey, Matt. I asked them, I'm like, I'm coming out this summer. If you have a wedding, can I second shoot it for free? It's not legal to take payment overseas, but I would shoot it for free for content.
That's such a good idea, though. And that would build your portfolio like crazy.
Yeah, unfortunately, neither of them had weddings, but they did take me around London, and we did get some gorgeous photos. And I got some really awful photos of James posing like one of your French girls. Anywho, I think building relationships in your photographer community is really impactful, and that's how you're going to get into spaces, and that's how you're going to get hired, is by having real authentic weddings in a venue. I mean, workshops get you in the door and they get you beautiful content to get attention, but brides want to see what a real wedding day looks like and how you function when you're under all the chaos and stress that comes with a real wedding day.
Right. And I think people are starting to be able to tell, like as clients, what is real and what is fake when it comes to real weddings versus styled shoots.
And I think another option that you can do is like, take me, for instance. I have no interest in doing film photography. It's not a skill that I have time to learn right now. I don't want to learn it, but I will hire the most amazing second shooter that also can do film. And it's an opportunity to kind of like pimp her out to get a little extra money. Is we will offer her film as an add-on, and she gets all the profit from that, not me. And I'm talking about Shannon, by the way.
Always appreciative.
Find people you trust, work together. I think your second shooter just becomes your best bud for the wedding day.
And it's always more fun to shoot a wedding day with another person. Being an 8-hour, even a 6-hour wedding day alone, it's pressure, yeah, but also it's just more fun when you're able to bounce ideas around with another creative.
I agree. And then I use off-camera flash, right? So if we have a wedding party that I'm trying to shoot and I have to light everybody's faces and they become your assistant, they can hold lighting for you, they can help hold gear, help change out things. Like, it's really useful to have a second shooter that is okay with wearing different hats on a wedding day to help you accomplish it.
You could be a professional veil thrower.
Oh, we love a veil thrower and a dress zhuzher.
Yes. The official word for it.
Zhuzher, yes. Can you spell that for me? Second shooters are invaluable. All of my packages include one now. I don't have a single wedding day package that doesn't come with a second shooter because I saw the value and I adjusted my pricing to cover their costs because it just makes the day run smoother. I'm not running around like a crazy lady, and we get more coverage for the couple. It's all about the couple and the experience at the end. So you want to do the best by them. So if you haven't hired a second shooter, I highly recommend it. If you haven't been a second shooter, do it. You'll have the most fun because your job is not a crucial part of the day, but it is the fun part because you don't have all the responsibility of the lead.
Right. And I think even if you are a seasoned photographer and you're like, oh, I've second shot in the past a lot, I think it's always fun to just get out there and meet new people and just get creative with new photographers as well.
Mm-hmm. It's a good networking opportunity. All this to say, it's not about the gear you use. It's about how you shoot and the experience you provide while you are there as a second shooter. That's what makes you an invaluable, That's what makes you an invaluable asset to the lead photographer, and that's what will keep getting you hired.
Yeah, and just remember, like, act how you would want your second shooter to act. Shoot like how you would want the second to shoot for you. Just put yourself in that situation.
And as a second shooter, these photos are for your portfolio.
Right. You are hired as a employee for the main photographer. It's not your gig. It's not your shoot. This is strictly business.
Strictly business, folks. All right, Shannon, do you want to tell people where to find you?
Sure. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Shannon Ferrell Photography, and on TikTok, it's just Shannon Ferrell Photo.
And you can find me under Ali Montemayor Photography across all socials. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this week. We're so excited to be doing this. It's been a lot of fun, and we're excited to talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.